he came home.
Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome back to my 4th annual Halloween special, and I'm here to talk about my favorite horror film of all time, John Carpenter's Halloween. Now, when it came to my first viewing experience with this film, I remember first watching it on AMC when I was a kid. It was like on a Thursday night, I believe, and I was like scrolling through like various channels, and there was a horror movie on, and it was Halloween. So I just had like a bowl of popcorn and everything, and I was just wanting to have a good time watching a horror film. And ever since then, I have always loved this film. Because when you have a film like Halloween, and what do you think of when you normally think of the film? I mean, you normally think of Michael Myers, you often think of Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode. What John Carpenter managed to achieve with his direction for the film, the cinematography, the amazing score by John Carpenter himself. And when it comes to John Carpenter's score for this film, it's one of my personal favorite horror scores, right next to Jerry Goldsmith's score for The Omen, as well as Joe LaDuca's score for the Evil Dead trilogy. It's that iconic. And this film was made on a very low budget of $300,000, which even back then was extremely low, and it managed to gross $70 million in just the United States alone. And at the time, it was the most successful independent film of all time, right until like 1990 when the Ninja Turtles film came out. And I'm really amazed what John Carpenter managed to achieve with this film. The movie opens on Halloween night in 1963 when 6-year-old Michael Myers, in this very chilling opening, stabs his sister to death. 15 years have passed and he spent time in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, and one rainy night he eventually escapes and attempts to resume his killing spree when Donald Pleasence, as Dr. Loomis, attempts to stop him. Now, when it comes to Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, this role earned her the title of Scream Queen, and it shows. And mostly because of throughout most of the film, I mean, she's like the only one, I mean, out of all of her friends who isn't like sexually promiscuous, because this film kind of like started the trope of like teenagers who are often having like premarital sex always end up being the ones who are getting killed first, while Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie, the naive virgin, has to do what it takes to survive. And when it comes to like the ending of the film, where she goes to the house across the street and she finds the corpses of her friends, that's when Michael Myers begins to chase after her, and she has to use her resourcefulness in order to survive. And which makes Laurie one of the best female protagonists in horror films. One of my favorite scenes in the film, and it's not like a scare or a chase scene, there's just this speech where Dr. Loomis gives to the sheriff about like how he spent years trying to treat Michael and how he learned that he was pure evil, saying that he met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face with the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, how he spent years trying to reach him, and then years later trying to keep him locked up because he realized that what was living behind the boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. That's one of my favorite scenes in the film. And when it comes to Michael Myers as a villain, he still works after all these years. Sure, there were like some films in the franchise where they kind of like missed what made him terrifying in the first place. Because when it comes to Michael, especially in the first film, we don't know what his motivation is. He's just trying to kill as many people as possible. And that's what makes him so terrifying, is that, I mean, when it comes to that mask and what it represents, I mean, what Dr. Loomis said, I mean, we never see his eyes because Michael is supposed to be pure evil personified. And speaking of that mask, I mean, the mask that they used, I mean, for Michael Myers was only like $1, a William Shatner Captain Kirk mask that they spray painted white and just like cut out the eye holes just to make it bigger. And even after 40 years, that mask still gives me chills. God, I love this movie. How the film ends with Laurie continuing to try to use her resourcefulness to try to defeat Michael, and of course Dr. Loomis shows up and shoots Michael 6 times and falls off a second-story balcony, and with the film ending with Michael's body disappearing and we hear his breathing. And it shows like shots of like locations that they filmed it in this neighborhood, and we hear Michael's breathing. What an ending. I don't really have much complaints about the film. I have always loved it. It's my favorite horror film ever. It's my favorite John Carpenter film. The only real competition it would have is The Thing, and I love The Thing. But I love Halloween just a little bit more because it's always been important to me. Like I said, everything about the film, still works. Michael Myers is still terrifying. Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis, they are still great. And when it comes to Donald Pleasence, rest in peace, this was one of his best. John Carpenter's direction, what he manages to achieve is amazing. And his score, it's one of my personal favorites. The cinematography is sublime. Just everything about it, just... If you have not seen Halloween, I definitely recommend that you should. Just go watch Halloween. And it's Halloween, so it's perfect for watching this film. So, of course, Halloween deserves an A+. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. So what do you all think about the film? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me. And happy Halloween.